Hey there, I'm your host, Leslie Randolph. I'm a self-confidence coach for teenage girls and the self-confidence coach you wish you had as a teen. Honestly, I'm the self-confidence coach I wish I had as a teen because I know I could have saved myself and my mother a whole lot of heartache if I'd only known then what I know now. I hope to save you some of that suffering by sharing the lessons I learned late in life right here on Why Didn't They Tell Us? Welcome to the show. Hey, happy people. Welcome back to Why Didn't They Tell Us? I'm so excited to be here with you and kicking off a new month. Yes, it is February, the shortest month of the year, yet the longest if you live in Chicago and have to make it through these cold days. But we're talking about one day in particular on this episode of Why Didn't They Tell Us? I actually had an inner battle with myself of like, do I bury the lead of what we're talking about today? Because if you have sort of that feeling knowing that we're about to talk about Valentine's Day, I urge and encourage you to stick around because it does not have to be that way. We do not have to continue resisting and avoiding and just dreading this one day. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to tell you how to be my mindful Valentine this year. So I'm going to kick it off with a story about why I decided to record this episode and why I did. Because listen, it's dropping, I believe, about a week before Valentine's. So it gives you a chance to prepare for what is coming. So here's the background of today's episode. Last year around this time, I was leading a women's coaching group where I teach all my favorite coaching concepts and my tools. It's like a mindset masterclass. And the women in it, they get access to all the goods and then they go out into their worlds and they start overcoming their obstacles and breaking down barriers and everything that's just standing in the way of them and the life of their dreams. I love leading these groups. I think of it as like my greatest hits album. When I do one-on-one coaching, obviously it's so tailored to the woman or the person that I'm working with. But in this group setting, I get to kind of call the shots and be like, listen, these are the greatest hits from everything that I've learned. And, we talk about our belief systems, the thoughts that we've had our whole lives and the lessons that we've learned from our parents and, deciding, do we want to keep living with those? We talk about our feelings and our self-concept and self-confidence. We talk goals, goal getting, goal setting, all the above. And it's like magic. And I just love these groups, obviously. Now, as I said, it was happening, last winter. It was really right around this time. And I believe it was either week 2 or week 3 fell on Valentine's Day. And so perfectly, it was the day that we were talking about feelings. Now, as you can imagine, especially if you were one of those listeners that just tuned in and was like, oh, we're talking about Valentine's Day, fine, I'll stick around. Emotions were running very high on Valentine's Day as we kicked off the class. Each of the amazing women in the group were sharing their stories of what their mornings looked like on this day dedicated to love, right? And there was a common thread. Spoiler alert, it was not love, my friends. It was not love. It was disappointment, frustration, sadness, and resentment. Am I hearing any nods out there from you guys? Yeah, me too. I recognized the emotions that these wonderful women were feeling because I know them so well. And I know them so well on Valentine's Day because I had spent many Valentine's Day feeling exactly the same way. I'm going to out my husband here on the podcast. I warned him, okay? And tell you guys that for the majority of our marriage and even before that, he was horrible on holidays. My birthday, Valentine's Day, anniversary, you name it. He did not do gifts. He didn't do cards. I come from a family that does not just one card, but like 4 cards the barometer of how much we love you is how many cards you are given. But he barely acknowledged the day, in fact. Now, you might think, based on this description, that I had every right to be disappointed, frustrated, sad, and resentful. And every single one of my girlfriends would agree, because of course I called them and said, could you believe this? He did it again. He did it again. And every woman in that coaching group that morning would agree with me, right? Some of you might be listening right now, nodding your head like, yeah, what a bum. How could he? Listen, I was totally justified in feeling that way, right? But my friends, vindication is a crappy Valentine. And just because I could feel that way, and I absolutely can, doesn't mean I wanted to. Neither did the women in my group. Neither do you, I assume. Listen, some days, yeah, we want to feel terrible. Sure. Valentine's Day ain't one of them. On Valentine's Day, I wanted to feel loved and appreciated. Now, you might think, because we all do, right, that my husband's actions were the reason that I was feeling sad, frustrated, resentful, all those things. And the same things were happening with my coaching ladies, right? But I'm going to tell you right now that the meaning that we assign to other people's actions is what was causing those feelings. I'm going to say it again. The meaning we assign to other people's actions, the thoughts we think about what people do or don't do, particularly on Valentine's Day, is what is causing the feeling. So let's break it down, right? What happened? No Valentine, or he got me the wrong Valentine. This is what I heard from some of the ladies of like, well, he did this, but. And I said, so what do you make that mean? And I saw it within myself. When my husband didn't give me a Valentine, I made it mean he didn't love me. He doesn't care. He doesn't get it. He doesn't appreciate me. The meaning we assign to other people's actions, the thoughts we think about what they do or don't do, will determine how we feel. And this is incredibly empowering because you're taking responsibility for your own emotional state versus outsourcing your lovability and your happiness and worthiness to someone else's actions. Yes, even your husband, even on Valentine's Day, the meaning you assign, the thoughts you think are going to cause your feelings. Now, as we move into Valentine's Day, you have a week after this drops to mentally get in the mindset you want to be in for Valentine's Day. Look at that. You have all the control. When you choose to believe that your feelings are caused by your thinking versus other people's actions, look at the power you just had, not only over your emotional state, but like your whole life, right? You can feel better when you think differently. Now, as we move into it, here are some of my tips. One, I want you to plan in advance how you want to feel on Valentine's Day, what you want to feel and what you don't want to feel. Want to feel loved? Then find thoughts that make you feel loved. And they don't need to just be, I love myself. You can look at the love you have in your life, but find thoughts that make you feel loved. Listen, I'm going to stop in here actually right now. If you are struggling with just this one piece of it, and I can add this to the show notes, I want you to go to coachchronicles.com/lovelibrary. coachchronicles.com/lovelibrary. I'll be sure to put this in the show notes. And this is such a beautiful space to find thoughts that fill you with love, that come from up here and then fill you with that love, because it's an inside job, right? On Valentine's Day, sure, it is one of those holidays where we decide that we are going to outsource it. But as I'm saying, even on Valentine's Day, you have the power to feel love, the greatest feeling of all time. But it starts within. coachchronicles.com/lovelibrary. Okay, so plan in advance how you want to feel. You want to feel loved, Find thoughts that make you feel loved. Find evidence for love within your life and your lovability. There is so much lovability to you, regardless of what other people do or don't do on Valentine's Day. You want to feel appreciated? You remind yourself of that now and leading up to the day. Remind yourself every day how appreciated and loved you are. There is so much evidence for it when you look for it. So my friends, today, every day, and especially leading up to February 14th, be your own Valentine. This is one of the things we talked about that morning with my coaching group. And, one of the girls was saying, well, he did this, but it was not what I wanted. Well, shoot, you want a bath bomb and some gummy candy? Go buy some from you for you. Have you been eyeing a new bag and you hope he telepathically knows which one to get? Go buy it for you. As a confidence coach, you better believe that learning to love and care for you is at the heart of everything I do. So start being the one that satisfies your own needs and see what happens. And that comes with not just the thoughts you think about you, that's a huge piece of it, but then how you show yourself love, how you show yourself that you love and appreciate you. Go buy the bag. Go get the gummy candies or the bath bomb or whatever it might be. I know my teenage brain, tell me if you feel this too. It's like, that's so sad. It's so sad that I have to do that. And I know that the teenage brain believes that other people should be filling our emotional buckets. But my friend, my adult brain reminds that inner teen that taking care of your own wants and needs is the most beautiful thing you can do. Let's normalize that. Let's be our own Valentines and take care of ourselves. So all my single ladies, I hope you hear that too. I'm going to be going out there and buying me whatever I want on Valentine's Day because self-love is just as important, okay? Valentine's Day and every day. So another tip for you as we face the day of Valentine's Day is to neutralize their actions, okay? So your partner didn't say Happy Valentine's Day. Your partner didn't buy you a present. The kids didn't make you cards. Those are facts. Focus on the facts versus the optional meaning you can assign to it. He didn't say Happy Valentine's Day. Fact. He doesn't care about me. Fiction. That part is optional. No, we can't change that he didn't buy you or didn't say Happy Valentine's Day, but we can remove the unnecessary suffering, the painful thought of he doesn't care with that fact. He didn't buy me a present. Fact. He doesn't love me. Fiction. Neutralize their actions rather than giving them a very painful meaning. So again, all my single ladies, and this one's for you, whether you have a Valentine or not. Remember that having a Valentine to call your own is a fact, right? I don't have a partner on this day. Fact. What that means about you and your future, your worth, your lovability, all optional. Think it means you'll be alone forever? Depending on that might be your happy ending. You might be like, oh, great, I'm going to be alone forever. And that might be wonderful for you. If it's not your happy ending and you think you assign that optional meaning to the fact that you don't have a Valentine, then that is going to dictate how you feel. And we're getting ahead of ourselves. But then if you allow that to dictate how you feel, it's going to impact how you show up and behave. Think I'll be alone forever, and that's not the ending you're looking for. That's going to show up on how you put yourself out there on future dates. It's going to show up on how you put yourself out there to meet people. So neutralize their actions, neutralize. Don't assign meaning to facts on this day or any day, but we're focusing on Valentine's Day. Okay, this goes back to a little bit of that like planning in advance. Reinforce what you know to be true. If you are listening today and you can tell me, you know what, my husband and my kids really appreciate me. I know that he loves me. I know that the kids care. I know that they appreciate me. Do yourself a favor and remind that beautiful brain of yours of that fact on February 14th, regardless of what they do or don't do. Isn't that so funny? Like on February 13th, you can be like, oh, I feel so loved and appreciated. Then February 14th, they don't buy the Valentine's Day present or give you the card. And you're like, no one cares. No one cares. See how our brains can do that, right? But it's an optional meaning that you are assigning to people's actions that are then going to make you feel sad, disappointed, resentful, all the things. These thoughts are available to you no matter what they do, right? Okay. And again, for all my single ladies, do not let the absence of a Valentine mean anything more about you on February 14th. If on today listening, you can say, I am fabulous and I am lovable and I am wonderful and I'm appreciated. Do not let the date, a neutral circumstance, just the fact that it's February 14th, do not assign meaning to that is unnecessary if it makes you feel terrible, unless you want to feel terrible. And then my final tip is know thyself, know thy partner. If you have expectations for this day, that was one of the things that's so interesting as I think back, as I'm saying this out loud, that morning of the wonderful women in my coaching group were like, well, so like I should just be prepared to be disappointed. It's like, absolutely not. But know thyself and know thy partner. If you have expectations, which you can and should, and please don't hear me of saying like, we shouldn't care at all. Not at all what I'm saying. Please, my husband will have to come back on and be like, she's not telling you all of this. I make it very clear now what my expectations are. And it's funny how they've since changed. Now that I'm feeling my own emotional bucket, now that I don't assign meaning to his actions, I really don't need him to do much. I know he loves me, whether or not he gives me the gift. Now the gift is just, frosting on the cake. It's just the cherry on top. But if you have expectations, make them clear. Your mate is not a mind reader. If you want your husband to buy you flowers on Valentine's Day, tell him that you would appreciate that. Set him up for success. Set your people up for success. Want your kids to make you cards? Then ask them to do so if they're old enough. And if they're not, again, ask your partner to support you in that. Say, I would really appreciate it if the kids would make me cards. Not because I'll be mad if they don't. You'll be mad because of what you're thinking, not because of their actions, right? But set them up for success. And I got to be honest with you. I love the idea of asking your kids and your husband, all of them, ask them for what you want and normalize this act of advocating for self. So certainly you can, get your hubby involved, but I'm going to tell my kids, I love it when you do this. When you make me cards, I think it is so special. Okay, I'm going to put a little disclaimer in here. I'm already laughing thinking about it because your pushback, your teenage brain, again, might be like, I shouldn't have to tell them. Well, apparently you do. So we can have another Valentine's Day of you feeling disappointed because of the meaning you're assigning to their actions. But you can also plan in advance and say, I'm going to tell them what I want. Why wouldn't you? I really want you to take a moment to dissect why you shouldn't have to tell them. Because it's the meaning you're assigning to those actions. Well, if they loved me, they would just know. But apparently they don't. And you've already decided. Remember, reinforce what you know to be true. You know they love you. I'll tell you the thing with my husband. It's so funny. We've talked about this a lot. It was his own thoughts that got in his way. He was like, I'm going to do it wrong. He always thought I'm going to do it wrong. And so instead of, and we're not going to coach him on this call, but instead of being like, hey, I don't know what you want and I don't want to let you down. He totally, just didn't do anything at all. So his thoughts and feelings had him paralyzed. He didn't buy a gift, not because he didn't care, but because his thought was, I'm going to do it wrong. Isn't that so interesting? But it took a lot of communication for us to get to that place where I understood his actions weren't, he doesn't care, he doesn't love me. He just didn't know what to do. And now you can see, now that we've opened up these lines of communication, every year on my birthday, he gets a little nervous of like, just tell me what you want. Just go buy it. Just go do it. I love you so much. All right, my friends. Why didn't they tell us that we can always be our own Valentine? I don't know. Please be your own Valentine. You so deserve that. You deserve that love. Love is the greatest feeling in the world. Give it to yourself. And yes, of course, make requests and share your wants with those who love you. That is an act of self-love. Advocating for what you want and what you desire. Please do. But don't assign meaning to their actions. That pain, that sadness comes from your thinking. And if you want to feel that, please. I'm not telling you don't feel negative emotion. I am telling you that if you don't want to feel that way, you don't have to. Do not apply optional meaning to other people's actions. Why did they tell us that resentment has everything to do with our thoughts, not their actions? Why didn't they tell us that we are responsible for our own feelings? Our feelings are coming from our thinking. You can always control that. Might not be easy, right? For years, I thought his actions were that he didn't care. It's a real painful thought. But then I worked on training my brain to realize, to choose to believe his actions are not about me. And they weren't. So you can be pissed and you can be resentful and you can be mad. I was for a long time on Valentine's Day. I still sometimes am, right? I'm a human and my human brain loves to go into default mode. But I always own that my emotions are coming from my thinking, not other people's actions or lack of actions. And it gives me so much more power over my life and my emotional well-being. And the same is true for you. Why did they tell us? I don't know, man. I spent many a sad Valentine, many a very resentful, angry Valentine. I hope the tips I offer today allow you to be a more mindful Valentine. Till next time, my friends. Thanks for tuning in. And I will leave that resource for you in the show notes. Again, that's coachchronicles.com/love library. If you want to give yourself a little self-love, it's a beautiful Valentine's Day gift to give you, and you deserve it. Till next time. Love what you hear? Well, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me at confidencecoachforgirls.com. That's confidencecoachforgirls.com. Or email me at lesliethelifecoach@gmail.com. That's lesliethelifecoach@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you.